It's summertime in Wisconsin, which is the perfect time for a little R&R with my cousin Cece. Once I finish milking the cows, I'm taking off for a little vacation in Door County, where I'll do some bass fishing and learn about culinary lavender. But first, I wanted to stop off along the way and find out about robotic milking. Gather with us around the farm table. I'm your host, Inga Witcher.
Gather with us around the farm table.
A few years ago, I moved up to Wisconsin. I started an organic dairy farm at St. Isidore's Mead. That's when I discovered the abundance of Midwestern local food and small-scale farmers, growing everything from green zebra tomatoes to pasture pork. I'm taking a break from the cows, hitting the road, and seeing if I can't satisfy my epicurious appetite.
That's great.
This is amazing.
Around the Farm Table is funded in part by Wisconsin Farmers Union, Heartland Credit Union, and Friends of Wisconsin Public Television.
There's a few different ways to milk cows. A lot of farmers around here milk in milking parlors. You can also use a pipeline. A few years ago, I went to the bucket milking system, and boy, do I wish I had a pipeline still. Well, let me finish milking the cows, and then I'll pack my bags, and then why don't you meet me at the wheat bins, where we'll find out about robotic milking. Hello, Wickmans.
Hi, Inga. Welcome to our farm. We'd like to show you the robots
I would
today.
love to see one. Who's going to show me?
Bradley.
Okay, Brad, I'm going to follow you. Brad, tell me a little bit about your family's farm.
I am the fourth generation farmer on this farm. My dad farmed with my uncle. My grandpa farmed here, and that would be my great-grandpa.
Oh, wonderful. And how has the technology of your family farm changed in 4 generations?
I think they had buckets at the time. Went to pipeline, then we went to freestyle barn with milking parlor, and now we got robots doing the milking.
And why did you choose to go with a robot milking system?
One of the biggest reasons is because it was mainly family what did it, most of the labor. We hardly had any hired help, and we wanted to try and keep it that way.
And it's hard to get away when you're milking twice a day.
And this way we can go to 3 times a day and try and get more milk out of our cows. And the other area farmers are trying to find high school kids to do work and labor.
Yeah, it seems like now the kids are getting so far removed from dairy farms, especially, that it's hard to find help to bring onto the farm that you can trust with running your business while you take a few hours off or a weekend off. Tell me a little bit about how the robotic milkers work.
When a cow walks into the stall here, she gets milk access, and while she's standing here getting milk, she's actually getting a pellet.
They're enticed to come in with the food.
The more milk she gives, the more pellets we'll give it. We call it cow candy. When she comes in here, the arm comes underneath the cow. It brushes her teats, and then it goes out, washes the brushes, comes back in, brushes the teats again, and blows a little puff of air on them to try and dry them, and then it attaches. The unit itself remembers about the last 30 milkings. So it knows about where her teat coordinates are from how much milk she's got in her udder. And so then it shoots 2 lasers up to get our attachment on so much faster.
That's nice. And everything stays really clean, which is important when you're handling milk. Have you seen a difference in your milk production since you put in, or lower cell counts or anything like that?
Our production went up and our cell count has dropped.
So it's paid for itself, yeah.
Yes, the cows seem to love it.
Yeah, and how often do they come through? Just as often as they want, really.
Yes, we got some cows that actually, they go through, they can get milked up, some got milk access up to 6 times a day. We got some getting milked about 5 times. And then if a cow comes walking in and she doesn't have milk access, we call that a refusal. And some days we average between 3 times a day for milkings and one refusal for the whole herd, but we got some cows that will go through 24 other times a day.
Yeah,
just
wow.
to try and get their cow candy.
Sometimes I just flat out refuse to go out and milk. Tell me about how everything's red, because they are all wearing necklaces.
Yep.
So that you can ID the cows, and what other things do you tell?
Each girl's got one of these on, and we're doing a couple different things with this. Each one's got their own number, so we know from the people who walk out in the barn, we can visual ID that cow. And then this box right here is doing a couple different things. We're doing identification for the robot. There's a chip in here to read her. And then it's doing activity, so if a cow's real active, that she's in heat, that she needs to be bred, she'll come up on the computer.
Well, I was walking around, I noticed some other technology that you have here, which is the robot that's for pushing up feed. Tell me about that. How does it work?
His name's Juno, and his specific job is to push the feed up for the cows. He's got a route he's got to do. He runs every other hour, so he starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and goes until 10 o'clock at night. And then he goes every hour after that until 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
So he's running over 18 times a day.
Gosh, he works harder than any hired man I've ever had, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, I have a rare day off from my farm today, and I'm heading up to Door County to go see my cousin. So why don't y'all come with me, and we'll head out and do some fishing.
Well, I've made it to Washington Island. It's so exciting. It's my first visit here. And now I've got to find my cousin Cece so we can get our vacation started. Hey, little lady!
How are you?
Oh, you look cute.
Thanks, yeah.
Hey, are you ready to start our little vacation?
Yes, where are we going?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is go fishing. So I've chartered us a little boat.
Perfect.
And so we can go out and hopefully catch some big fish. And
Love
then I'm
it.
going to take you out to a lavender farm. So.
Yes, love it.
But I got to figure out where this fishing place is.
Let's get a...
Excuse me, sir. Do you know Jimmy the fisherman?
Yes,
Where does he live?
I know. Why don't you climb aboard on the rumble seat and we'll take you for a ride?
Oh, fantastic.
Perfect, great.
Hello, ladies.
Hey, Captain Jimmy, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
I'm excited to get out of the water and hopefully catch some fish and find out more about what kind of fish you have here on Washington Island.
Oh, absolutely. Let's get out there.
Okay, Cece's gonna stay and fish off the dock.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Let's
good
go.
Fun, guys.
See ya.
It's nice to be up here and kind of experiencing a whole different part of our state. I'm, from 5 hours away, and it's so quiet on this lake. This is such a beautiful island. I thought they would be packed with people out here.
No, it's usually pretty quiet. We like to keep it that way. I don't think there's many other boats out here today fishing. And that really helps the fishing be good.
And now, do you take a lot of fish home to eat?
I personally don't. No, I let them go. I let them grow. If I want to eat, I'll go buy some fish at the store.
That's nice. So we're going to be doing a little catch and release today. Is that
We
what we're
are.
thinking?
Yep.
Okay, well, let's get started.
All right.
Hey, Cece, you got one. Try to grab it.
Did you want some help?
Here, net it.
I got one!
Nice job. More than we caught.
Well, I'm going to leave Cece here to keep fishing. But why don't you come with me to the lavender farm here on Washington Island? While Cece finishes up fishing, I'm going to meet with Martine and find out about growing lavender here in Wisconsin, and then Cece and I are going to whip up a feast.
Hey, hi, nice to see you. I was expecting you.
What's happening in this building?
Well, we just finished distilling with the machine you have behind you. We actually put around 40 pounds of cut lavender, and then this is the result. You have 16 ounces of essential
From
oil.
40 pounds of lavender.
40 pounds of lavender. And that's why, I think lavender oil or any essential oil is quite expensive. It's because of what it left.
Yes.
After the distilling.
So now you'll keep the essential oil, and then will you just get rid of what's on the bottom?
No, we actually use the hydrosol for body mist, for linen spray, because it has quite a lot of lavender on it.
It
It's
smells
just not-
amazing in this building.
Yes, it is. So we use it for all kind, even soap making. So it's nothing is waste on the lavender. You can do quite a lot of it with it.
Wonderful.
So
Well,
there it is.
I use a lot of lavender essential oils. My dairy farm is organic, so we do fly sprays and things with the lavender oils and a lot of essential oils. And I think it's wonderful to see different uses for plants.
Absolutely, and with lavender again, you have so many utility with it, both medical and relaxing, and I'm sure you have the same thing on your farm.
And just being in this building with the smell of lavender, I already feel just calm
Just
and
relax.
wonderful.
Actually, we have to be careful because we could stop, really during the day. We have guys who tell us we need to go and rest. So it's happening.
Well, I never thought that I could grow lavender here in Wisconsin, and so I'd love to pick your brain and find out a little bit more about what you do here and how I can be a successful home lavender gardener.
Sure. Well, you have to be a little bit more careful with the lavender because it's not a native plant, obviously. But if you cover your plant, if the base of your plant, the water go very, very fast through it, they don't like wet feet. So that's the things you have to watch. And then you have to a little bit of care. You cut them and bring them in during the months of October, November. And every year your plants are going to come back. It's just put full sun and cover them in the Midwest for the wind, the dark, cold wind.
Can we go have a look?
Sure, absolutely. Let's go.
Martine, what kinds of things do I need to be thinking about if I wanted to grow lavender here in Wisconsin?
Well, you will have to find out what your pH is of your soil. Basically, the lavender do not like to have any feet wet, so it has to be a very porous soil, sandy preferably. And then after that, you have to watch them, full sun for sure. And depending where you are in Wisconsin or in the Midwest, you will have to cover them during the winter.
And is there a different variety that you use for cooking with or that you use for decorative purposes or your oil?
Well, you have two types. What we plant here is English lavender because it's basically hardy to the Midwest, and most of it is culinary. So you can actually use it for product or cook and eat with it. And we grow another type, which is an hybrid, which is way more difficult to grow, but the plants are way bigger actually, and the stems are longer, and that has more camphor on it. And you don't want to eat it, you won't die, but that won't be
It's not
very
gonna be great.
No. But so that's basically it. You have 48 different varieties under English lavender.
So when you're cooking with lavender, what do you usually do?
Well, I am pretty, I have done cooking with lavender since I was a child, so I am a little bit more, I take more risk, I think, that most people will do. If I cook a tenderloin, I'm going to put, olive oil, salt and pepper, a little bit of garlic, and I coat it with culinary buds. And I put it at 425 degrees, and it is unbelievable. So I take more risk. I won't recommend it though. You have to learn to cook with lavender.
Do you use it in just everything, or?
I do,
Yeah.
but I do because if you use it right, you really don't know what the secret ingredient is.
And it just gives kind of a nice floral note, right?
Exactly, and it should be on the back of your palate, not on the front. You don't want to taste the lavender when you eat you bite on anything. It has to be subtle, it has to come on the back.
Now, when you moved to Door County, was lavender just something that you said, oh, well, I'm French, of course, lavender. Or how did you come across?
No, actually not immediately. We bought a property when we retired here, and I planted lavender because I used to live in the south of France for quite a long time and loved it. But so my plant grew so fast that when we start thinking of doing some kind of business here, I told my husband jokingly, well, what about lavender? And actually his first phrase was, are you crazy? And after that, you know, he did his research for a year, and that's where it is.
It's beautiful here. It's fun to be able to stand out in this field because you can hear the buzzing of the bees. They're just covering. They must be having a heyday with all this lavender.
It is, and you hear them more at night or in the morning. Actually, it's kind of interesting. They are more active. During the day, I think they are completely drunk on the nectar and kind of mellow down. But now you can hear it. Is that wonderful song? It's great.
Martine, one thing I was surprised about when I came on this vacation is I always thought of Door County as a very tourist destination. And coming onto the island and being around, there is so much agriculture happening. I mean, just in our conversation here, I see somebody hauling hay home, and it's a thriving community.
I think that's a surprise of Door County. I think that's part of its charm too. I think a lot of people have enterprise, smaller, larger, and you can see that when you start driving up the county for sure. And the island is a perfect place for that. So
is that one of the reasons that drew you and your husband here?
Yes and no. I mean, we fell in love with the blue sky and the pristine, you know, the cedar tree, the lilac here is unbelievable. And then after that, when we discovered that we could grow lavender, yes, we certainly stayed.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to leave now after having this beautiful experience.
You'll have to come back. Then.
Absolutely. Well, I was hoping to cook with some today with my cousin Cece. So would you mind if I harvested a little bit?
Hey, you have 14,000 plants to choose from.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
When Cece and I were little kids, she used to come out to the farm for about a month every summer. And since we've grown up and moved on to our own places, it seems like we never really get to have time to hang out in the summer like we used to. So I think it's nice that she joined me here in Door County. We can cook together, hang out, and it's like the old days.
I know.
But Cece is a trained pastry chef, and so I'm letting her take care of the dessert portion of our meal.
Yeah, we're gonna make panna cotta today because I love a nice cold dairy dessert. When I do a dish like this, that's gonna have something like a coffee or a lavender in there that's like a stronger flavor, I like to cold steep it overnight. So what I do is I'll take my lavender in my fingers, break it up a little bit, and then you put it into your container and you let it sit overnight. So the next day we come in and then we'll strain it out and use that because you know, when you cook with lavender, sometimes it becomes astringent if you're cooking it for too long or too high of a temperature.
So, and one of the reasons why you want to break those herbs up with your hands, whether it's rosemary or thyme or lavender, is you're releasing the essential oils, and that's what helps the flavor come through. All right, so what's the first thing we're going to do?
So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 1.5 cups of milk to the cream.
And this I brought with me. This is my great-grandfather's farm. So I wanted to prove that I'm a fourth-generation dairy farmer.
I know it. I'm pretty excited about it.
But I think I just like having these little bits of history around.
I know, it's very sweet.
Yeah, I never keep anything else. It's
very
like
sweet.
one thing. Okay, so 1.5 cups.
Okay. And then we're going to strain everything into the pot. Once it's in there, you're going to mash the lavender with the back of a spoon into the strainer.
Okay. It smells good.
So yeah, just mash them around a little bit. You can give it another little dunk at the bottom. Kind of, yeah, there you go.
Sugar?
So then we're going to add the sugar to this. So then we're just going to cook it until we bring it up to a scald. So that means...
I call it scald.
I call it scald because I'm from Chicago. So we're going to bring it up so there's little tiny bubbles all along the side just before it comes to a boil. Because I'm sure it's happened to you. It's happened to me many times.
Yeah.
Where the minute you turn your back, it's going to boil over and it's going to ruin your
and your
stove
kitchen
top.
smells like burnt milk forever. Yeah, it's the worst.
So we're just going to pay attention a little bit, and we're going to wait till you start seeing the little bubbles on the side, and it's just going to be right there.
Okay. So, Cece, now there's bubbles. Are we scalding?
I think we're good.
Scalded?
I think we're scalded. I think we're good.
Go Bears. Okay. And what do I do now? Just take it. I'm going to take it off the heat.
Take it off the heat. Once you bring
I
it
need
on
your direction.
over here. So I'm going to add the creme fraiche to it because you want to cool it down just slightly before you add in the gelatin.
And the creme fraiche will add a little bit of a bite to it too.
Right, yeah.
Like a nice
kind of little
zing.
Yeah.
A zinger.
So we're gonna add the gelatin after the creme fraiche because if you don't, then what happens is the gelatin will separate a little bit and you'll get this like gummy film at the bottom, and you don't want that. If you wouldn't mind squeezing a couple lemons in there, thank you. And then lastly, we're gonna add a little vanilla bean paste. Now we're gonna add this back into our original dish because it'll be easier to pour. So we're just gonna...
And are we doing like a little, filling this with water?
No, because we're going right into the fridge, so we don't even need to.
We're not cooking it.
No, it's not like a custard. You normally would thicken it with egg yolks and maybe some butter.
Right.
But you don't need to do that with this because it's thickened with gelatin. So it's gonna go right into the fridge and the gelatin's gonna set, and then we're gonna be ready to unmold it and eat it.
Alrighty, well I'm gonna pop these in the fridge and then Cece and I will get started on the main course. Since it's summertime and we're on this beautiful island, I thought it's only appropriate that we have fish for dinner.
Yes.
And we're gonna do it in a little slightly different way, and it's called, I can't pronounce it.
En papillote.
En papillote, which basically means we're gonna cook it in parchment paper, and that's gonna allow the fish to steam. So the first part, and maybe the trickiest part, is just gonna be making the little pouch that we're gonna cook in. So what we did is I brought with me some parchment paper that's in individual sheets, and then I just fold it in half, get a good crease on the outside, and then you're gonna cut this into a heart shape. All right.
There we go.
I've got a little heart. When you're making your little pouches, make sure that everything's gonna be cooking at the same time frame. So like we're cooking the zucchinis with the fish because they're all gonna cook at the same time. So they're gonna all be done in 15 minutes. Like if we were gonna use potatoes, we would have to par bake the potatoes beforehand because they don't cook the same rate as a fish does. So you're doing a shallot?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a garlic and a shallot. We'll just put them together because it's kind of, you know.
Oh, I have to have garlic at every meal.
Me
like
too.
I would eat it at breakfast.
Me too.
I wouldn't even mind.
I love this time of year too because you have so many options for doing your side dishes, you know? It's in the wintertime, you could always do the same method and use, you know, wild rice or, you know, something
it's
kind of like that.
You can cook the starch with the whatever, you know, with the fish. And I'm gonna start layering on one side because we're gonna have to fold this all up. And I'm gonna give us a lot of vegetables because it's kind of nice to have them. And we're layering these. Okay, and then I'm just gonna sprinkle a little shallot on here and a little garlic. It looks like summer.
It does.
Put a little pepper on there.
All right, toss those guys in there.
Nice and colorful. And now I'm gonna put the fish on top, and the fish is just gonna sit right on top of those vegetables.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and again, this is a nice healthy way of cooking. So I'm just gonna do a splash of olive oil.
Perfect.
Alrighty. Layer the lemon on top. Fish and lemon, it's like the perfect match.
Yeah.
And then now we're gonna put our herbs on. So I'm just gonna layer a little bit of rosemary right on top, a little bit of thyme, and one of the main ingredients in the herbs de Provence is lavender. Remember that when you're cooking with lavender, a little goes a long way. You really don't wanna overdo it, or else you're gonna maybe have a fish that tastes like a bar of soap.
Right, right.
So just a few pieces here, and we're just gonna put them right on top. This is looking beautiful.
What a nice, tasty summertime meal.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna put a little splash of wine in actually before I seal it up to give it a little bit of flavor, and that's gonna help it steam. And a white wine. I wouldn't wanna put a red wine in here.
No.
Okay, now I can just fold it up. So you really just gotta seal it really well. You don't want it falling apart or the steam coming out when you're cooking it. So you're just gonna kind of make little corners, and we're still sealing, pushing that fish in. Don't put too much stuff in, is what I'm finding out right now. I've probably put in a little bit too much vegetables, so don't put too many vegetables in yours. And then at the end here with the tail, we are just gonna wrap it right on up. And that is gonna seal that little pouch.
I love it.
You can also do a little staple. Will you hand me that staple?
Sure.
Jen? I learned this from Martha Stewart. It's
little
insurance
extra
policy.
insurance,
It's an
yeah.
insurance policy for me. Staple this, and then now you have your little pouch. And I can just put this in the oven and have that be nice and steamy. It's a nice way to be able to cook if you want to cook outside, or if you just want to cook something simple without a ton of dishes, this is the recipe for you. When Cece gets finished up with her pouch, we're gonna pop them in the oven for about 15 minutes, and then dinner is served. Toast the island sunset with a crisp, bubbly Wisconsin hard cider. Lavender, local veggies, and the catch of the day, steamed to perfection in a parchment pouch. A lavender-infused panna cotta. It's quick and easy to make, the perfect dessert to enjoy in the middle of a lavender field. Well, I hope this has inspired you to get out and enjoy Wisconsin with your cousin, and I hope you'll gather with us next time around the farm table. I'm your host, Inga Witcher. Cheers. Cheers. Thanks again.
Around the Farm Table is funded in part by Wisconsin Farmers Union, Heartland Credit Union, and Friends of Wisconsin Public Television.